has happened today is no surprise at all. Now, 2-3 comments I have. Now, when Prime Minister first mooted the idea in 2013, even before becoming Prime Minister, and later on reiterated again and again, he wanted a national debate. He did not thrust it down the throat of the nation. He wanted a national debate and consensus. Now, 10 years debate has gone on and no consensus has emerged. So logically, since consensus has not emerged, the idea should have been shelved. But then in desperation, the government constituted the Kovind committee to decide, to suggest how to implement it now. Implementation is now a given. Now, read the Kovind committee report. It's a very nice report in the sense that it has honestly, truthfully recorded everything, all the proposals in support and every suggestion and proposal against it, very honestly, truthfully, verbatim. And all the history, it's a beautiful historical document. But now the recommendations I find amusing. Now, it said unanimously we decide that these elections will be good and they should be conducted. And what are they recommending? Let us hear that one by one. They say that when we say simultaneous election, we are talking of Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha, and not Panchayati Raj. Now, Lok Sabha has 543 MPs. Vidhan Sabha altogether have 4,120. We are talking of 5,000 legislators whose simultaneous election now we are going to talk about. The committee said that 30 lakh Panchayati Raj representatives will deal separately. Now, this is not simultaneous election. And with so much of dilution, it loses all moral authority. Now, secondly, what does it say about the Panchayati election? That they should be done in 100 days. Now, to me, it is amusing, funny, and I don't want to use a strong word because the committee was headed by Mr. Kovind. Now, 100 days later, an election is a separate election. It is not a simultaneous election because the entire bandobast, entire arrangement, the security, the booth, everything will have to be repeated. And the election in difficult areas, in left-wing extremist areas, in the border areas in Kashmir, will all have to be repeated within 100 days. Now, even conducting one major election is such a tiring job. Before you get over the fatigue, 15 million people who conduct the election will be sent back to do the election. Now, thirdly, which is even more, even if you are able to mobilize all the effort with desperate effort and everything, now getting all the voters back to the villages to vote will be impossible because they take leave there
Mr.
on
Quraishi.
a daily basis. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Quraishi, if I were to also ask you, what are the amendments that would be needed in order to ensure that such an exercise takes place? Ratification of states is necessary, but through Parliament, what are some of the legislative changes that we would need?
Well, I think the committee has already mentioned about 5-6 articles which have to be amended, which are normally about the tenure of the House, the 5-year tenure, that for Lok Sabha, for Vidhan Sabha, it will have to be changed. So those amendments are all, there are 6, 7, 8 amendments. They're all listed in that. And now getting them passed through the constitutional amendment procedure itself is very difficult, but maybe the government will be able to manage it. But then it comes to the logistics. Folks presume that a constitutional amendment has been made and the simultaneous election with all the flaws which I have mentioned, and I have not even completed. There is one more. So we conduct the election. The Election Commission has repeatedly written to them that in principle we are happy with the idea. Election Commission will be the happiest because conducting elections once in 5 years means for 5 years we'll play golf. Because if election is conducted throughout, as people keep saying, it disrupts life. It doesn't disrupt anybody's life except the Election Commission and the political party heads. Because if the election is happening in Ghaziabad or in Meerut or in Rohtak, are you disturbed? Are you bothered? You are only bothered when it is happening in your area. So somewhere else in the country, it doesn't stop anything. So that thing that the work comes to a standstill, no policy changes, policy paralysis, they're all false allegations. We have repeatedly said that if you read the Model Code of Conduct, I recommend you read the Model Code of Conduct. It says no new scheme will be announced. Why is it that new schemes come to the mind of the politicians only 2 weeks before the election? For 4 years and 11 months,
Mr. Quraishi, what this will also require is certain state governments agreeing to their tenure being curtailed. If we assume that the recommended date as per the panel report was 2029, if the government goes with that recommendation for 2029, there will be some state assemblies whose tenures will be curtailed below 5 years.
Yes.
Do you think states will accept that? Possibly the BJP-ruled states will, but opposition parties may not agree and they may want to go to court. How will that kind of a challenge play out?
Yes, exactly. You summed it up very well, but that is what will be tackled through the constitutional amendment. But constitutional amendment requires 50% states agreeing. The other 50% will oppose it exactly on the grounds that you mentioned. Now, this committee has made a very strange recommendation. It says that suppose if the assembly or the state government is dissolved prematurely, election will be held. Now, that is not simultaneous election again, but it will be held only for the remainder of the term. Now, that makes it even more complicated because you spend crores of rupees for 5-year election. Here, you'll be spending crores of rupees for 1.5 year or 2 year of remainder election. So, and what kind of a simultaneous election is this committee recommending? So, actually, when it is debated, it will be torn to bits, these recommendations. And I've not talked about the logistics, because logistically, as I said, also election. Yeah.
Yeah, my final question, Mr. Quraishi, would be about actually the logistics exercise, because every election, wherever it is held, we're looking at an election in Jammu and Kashmir, and that needed a massive security review and preparedness on the ground. Now, when you're having simultaneous elections, you'll need more EVM machines. You'll need adequate manpower at the level of the Election Commission. You'll need an adequate number of police forces. You'll need an adequate number of vehicles to carry polling personnel, EVMs to that area. This is going to be a mammoth logistics exercise. How can this be done in the best possible and most transparent sort of fashion?
Yeah, correct. That was what I was coming to, because the Election Commission has repeatedly underlined the logistics. While agreeing in principle, they have no problem. If they're asked to do simultaneous election, they will do it. They can do it. Now, they require, for instance, as you said, 3 times the number of EVMs. And when I say 3 times, it is not a few hundred. It is, we currently have, say, 20 lakh machines. 3 times means 60 lakh machines. That means 40 lakh machines will have to be manufactured. Manufacturing cannot be done by just the press of a button and in 1 week you will have all these machines. It will take at least 2 years or 3 years. To about 40 lakhs of VVPAT or plus minus something. So about 40 lakhs VVPATs will have to be manufactured. So now these are the logistical issues. Of course, manpower and police force and everything. Already 15 million people conducted the election, and getting the school teachers and government staff and others, already it is very difficult. Some more will be required, but perhaps it is manageable. It will still be done. But as I pointed out, the recommendation of the Kovind committee is that the Panchayat election will be held after 100 days. Imagine, it is such a tiring and tense and taxing job. Ask your sisters and mothers who do the election job and how tired they are. Within 3 months, you will send them back to those difficult areas to conduct the election. What is this? And somebody was talking of economy. I just heard on your channel or some other economy. Now, 1 lakh crore is spent by the politicians on the election. This actually helps the economy. It creates jobs for the poor. It recycles the money of the politicians and it transfers it to the poor. To say that it will disturb the economy and no election for 5 years will disturb. And I'll conclude on that.
Okay. Sir, we're running out of time.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Just one finally, sir. Any positive that you see in this exercise if this becomes a reality?
Well, the fact is that the Election Commission will be very happy that after one election for 5 years, they will relax.
Okay, we've run out of time. Thank you very much, Mr. Quraishi, for joining us on the program with your views on the subject. A big move by the Union Cabinet, and they've said that they'll now form an implementation committee to see how there can be widespread consultations on the issue. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of News Center. More updates continue right here.